Besides sending the police, you might want to send an ambulance or a hearse.
Hello, Billy Ho here, coming at you with the DraftKings show for the 2023 RBC Heritage. We're going to talk probably DraftKings pricing, obviously, discuss maybe some lineup strategy, point out some value maybe a little bit. I'm going solo today, so we are going to make it shorter and sweet and hopefully not take up too much of your time, give you a nice little maybe 15, 20-minute run time. But we're going to point out a few things and set up a special show for tomorrow. I think what I'll do is, like I said earlier, is maybe this type of Pete Dye specialist slash category type specialist, because there's certain holes, a few things that I've noticed as far as what we need to do to get our best good DraftKings scoring going on. So we'll get into that here momentarily. So five things. Hit that subscribe button. We're on the uptick. I feel like we can get. I want 333 is the number, which is kind of a funny number, but it's 1/3 of the way to 1,000 subscribers. So I'd love to hit that this week. Probably a little bit lofty, but that's all good. Number two is hit the like button, so the videos will be popping up more for the people to see. That's always a good thing. The Discord is totally free. The link's in the description, so check that out. Preview article, same situation. It's coming together. It's not quite there yet, but preview wise, it is. So you can go look at the course layout. You can go, check out the weather, early weather, stuff like that. So, and speaking of weather, we're not going to get into that very much, but just a tick different than I saw in my preview video last Saturday. It's a little bit funky on Thursday with some afternoon showers. And then Friday looks okay. And then it starts to get into Saturday, which looks all right. And then maybe Sunday afternoon showers. So it's kind of broken up into a couple of different things. But Thursday actually looks like if there's a system there that's going to cause showers, overnight Friday is when it's going to be the wettest. So we'll check back tomorrow on that to see if it's moved. But yeah, like from midnight to 4 in the morning, looks like heavy downpours Friday morning, technically, leading into the set round two, before round two. So we'll just leave it at that. So, DraftKings contest. There's still 15 spots left. So jump on in. And speaking of jump on in, let's get it. All right, we begin at the cheat sheet. My man Rick Run Good did us a solid. Appreciate him. Got those early ownership projections loaded in just in time for the show. He's always a good guy. I actually DM'd him and asked him when they might be up, and he said he had already loaded them. So there, lo and behold, they were there. So good on him. Appreciate that guy. So what I'm looking for this week specifically is obviously guys that can score on par fives. And what that means is how good guys are at going for the green and can deliver the consistent birdies. So what if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I've got the hole by hole breakdown of like the birdie rates, bogey rates, doubles, pars, like the percentages from Fantasy National old school style. And so if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see by looking at the percentages, there's not a lot of eagles to be had, but there are 3 par fives, and hole 9 is a drivable par 4. Those 4 holes have the highest birdie rates on the board, and all require going for the green from some distance. So, just real quick, I have this on the Holy Grail, which is a breakdown of said going for it. So, birdie or better. So, Tommy Fleetwood, and this is not an end all be all, but I do like the stat because there are a few guys that I'm kind of digging on, and I'll bounce back and forth with this. But if you go up here, I wanted to see how bad the early ownership 22. I thought Cantlay would be by far the highest owned, but evidently people are digging Scotty Too Hottie. that is not a bad idea. As Scotty still finished 10th at the Masters, even though he didn't have his best stuff. I think if you would have removed hole 12 from the mix, he probably won the tournament. But I don't know about this 15% John Rahm up top, but I understand it. He's not a he doesn't play this course. He had a 33rd, and then just coming off the Masters win. What do you think he's going to have in the tank? But I do point out that John Rahm, and I was thinking about this over the weekend, why I was disappointed in myself for fading him and taking more Rory, which I had some Scotty, but I had too much Rory. And I don't know how well engaged Rory is. But every week, and especially when Brooks was up there, because people know Brooks when he plays on the PGA Tour, he shows up in the majors, but he doesn't seem to give his best effort in other PGA tournaments. So he's really hard to predict. But John Rahm, you're going to get his best effort just about every time he tees it up. So that's why I wouldn't be mad at going at him at 11-1. But I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm fading all these guys. I think Jordan Spieth, word has been out on Twitter, and I noticed it myself. These guys are wore out. All these and the elevated events will rotate, but this year the elevated events have been all in the first portion of the season. We're on another elevated event this week, RBC. We had, I think, API was an elevated event. Players is an elevated event. There's like been 4 or 5 elevated events already this year, and it's caused guys like Jordan Spieth to play 10 out of 12 events, and other guys to play more golf than they're used to playing. So Spieth already admitted that he's just mentally wore out, especially after that weekend grind where they didn't play much on Saturday, but they played 27 plus on Sunday, at least maybe closer to 36. So that has to take its toll on the old brain. So one angle obviously would be to play guys that played the Masters and missed the cut unexpectedly, like Corey Connors and a few other guys we'll get to momentarily. But getting back to my Tommy Fleetwood leading the going for the green, but Patrick Cantlay was the guy. He played very well at the Masters, and he's very popular. He was the guy I'm going to start with. Morikawa and Sungjae M were the 3 that stood out to me when I started looking up these going for the green and par 5 scoring, because Patrick Cantlay, that's the other thing. Par 5 scoring, that's approaches. Sorry about that. But par 5 scoring is an important stat, obviously. And the leader, number one, not with a bullet, but number one was Patrick Cantlay in both categories, in par 4 scoring or par 5 scoring average and par 5 birdie or better. Morikawa was in the top 10 in both. Cam Young is right there, obviously Hovland. All these guys, if you're an elite golfer, you're eating on par 5s. But Patrick Cantlay in particular, it seems to be really good at going for it because his around the green game is so solid. His sand game, a lot of guys end up in bunkers going for it because that's where their bailout spots are. They don't want to run the ball 90 miles over the green if they're too long. The best way to do it to get up and down is to splash one in a front bunker and give yourself some green to work with, and you can stop the ball closer to the green a lot of times from the bunker than you can from an awkward lie somewhere else. So sand saves is kind of an interesting thing as well. But also, not only these par 5s and everything that I just mentioned, they're also short par 4s are important as holes number 1, holes number 6, 11, and 12 are all those kind of 400 to 450 holes, like 410, 419. 13 and 16 are sub 400. Those are especially important because they're your next level of birdie scoreable holes. These are the surgical type of holes where you need to hit fairways and get in the right spot and dial in wedges. 125 to 150 is kind of of the spot that I landed on there. And this is not, I hate buckets, So it could, because the guy could be really awesome from 156 out or 122 out, and he just doesn't land in this bucket. But these are some interesting names up top because number one is Ryan Palmer, Kadira, Luke Donald, Thomas Dietrich. I have some definite interest in this week at $7,100. That's a really, I think, fair and good price on him. But with this a bucket, it's hard because you're like 30 feet, 30. The difference between 17th and 6th is a couple of feet, and it just depends on your putting ability and stuff like that from that distance. But this all this kind of stuff is going to go into my specialist bucket. So we'll look into that. I'm going to try and do a deeper dive overnight and get into that a little bit more, and hopefully I can share some with you on a short segment tomorrow. We can go over weather, which will be closer. We can go over ownership, which will be closer. And, we can and dabble into these specialists and see if we can't find some guys on the down low, because we all know Colin Morikawa is really, really good. He's a great fit for this course. Victor Hovland scores DraftKings points. We love Cam Young, who now has Webb Simpson's caddy. And this is a course that Webb Simpson has performed prolifically well on just many occasions. Webb Simpson won the last time this field was this strong in 2020, right out of COVID. Webb Simpson won it. So he has Webb Simpson's caddy. He seems a lot more confident and has a lot more swagger. He was always good with his irons, and he'll be hitting irons off the tee. He's so long. So he's going to be popular, but I'm still going to play him. And Finau, but see, these other guys in the mix will help pull ownership. Your Finaus, your Xanders, your Homas, your JTs, all these guys will be pulling ownership. It's funny how M is just a few hundred less, and he's a lot more popular, but he's a really good fit and been playing really good golf. So M lands in that par 5 bucket, but so does JT. JT, all the things that I just mentioned, JT is really great at. And I'm not going to hold it against him that he had a really, really bad stretch in that awful Saturday morning condition and missed the cut. He really should have held on, but and we have been kind of disappointed in him this year. But at 8,900, he's not going to go unnoticed. If he was 9,100 where Homa was, it'd be a different story. I think the ownership would travel. I think he would be. I think he would take Homa's ownership, and then Homa would probably drop down to 14, and Xander would get more ownership. But it's pretty fair right there. I mean, Spieth being at sub 10%, that should spark a lot of interest since he's the defending champion and he's been playing his best golf. But he took Valero off, and he didn't make it out of his group at match play. So you think he said mentally exhausted, but he had Friday? He had the weekend off prior to Valero, a whole week off Valero week, all the way leading up into Masters. So I don't know why he wouldn't be recharged. But if people read on Twitter that stuff that he's mentally exhausted, then maybe he should withdraw. I don't know. Get your shit together, Jordan. But anyway, now we're just going to kind of run down to finish out the show, run down the cheat sheet, look at some early ownership and some guys that have garnered my attention. I jotted down an early player pool, just random guys, and it's about 25 to 30 dudes, and I'll narrow it down. That's one of the things that has changed my my fortunes on DraftKings recently in the past month and a half. Is over the fall and the early on in the season, my pool was too large. My player pool was 22, 23 guys, and I was playing the same amount of lineups I always did. So I decided to knock the player pool down to 15. And ever since then, I kind of do what I used to do when I wouldn't call DraftKings as easy, but when I was more consistent. And I know some guys like, I'd rather lose 90 weeks in a row and hit 100,000. That's the way those high limit guys play. I don't play like that. I like to be there every week. If I win, I'd like to win some money, and I still have the same chance to win big every week. I still play in the same contests, but I'm getting back half my money or more. Like last week at the Masters, I had a really, really bad week because my power went out Wednesday night. And that's when I really get down and I grind on hand building lineups. And I didn't get power back at all. So I had to build like 15 lineups on my phone, which didn't work well, but my pool was okay. My only problem was I didn't have any ROM. So, but anyway, I managed to rally on Sunday with guys like Henley, guys like Spieth, Hovland's round 3, 5 birdies in a row, and all that kind of good stuff. And it got me back in the money, and I got 75% of my money back. So even though I lost a little bit, it keeps me in the game. And that's the most important thing for me. So, starting up top, I think my favorite play will be Patrick Cantlay. I know he's chalky, but he's just a good fit for this course. He nearly won it last year. He nearly won it a few years back with a third. And he's been really playing good golf. He's been ball striking the crap out of it, but he's also so good around the greens. I told you the stats with the par fives. He's just a fit. I'm going to try to double up Cantlay and Kawa up top. Either that or they're just going to be got two guys I play a lot. But Cantlay, Kawa, Hovland, Young, and those guys right there in that little area are going to be a large portion of my up top guys. I haven't decided what to do with the lower 9K guys because Xander's obviously a good fit. He's striking it pretty well. He got the driver going a little bit better at the Masters. But, he doesn't have great course history here, so I may give him a shot to beat me. Max Homa, the same situation. His driver's not been kind to him at all. So I might diss on him, but then I might start looking into some JT and definitely some Sungjae M. Tom Kim, I'm going to let beat me. He's low owned. He looks like a great course fit, but he's never played here. So I don't know. I'm still waffling on Tom Kim, waffling on Fitzpatrick. All these guys right in here in this range, in the 88,000 range, from Sungjae M to Tom Kim, Fitzy, Shane Lowry, Terrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood. I'm warming up to Tommy Fleetwood as I see these going for the greens. He's also good on par threes, which there's an easier par three you can birdie. He's a little bit better accuracy wise on the driver. I'm sure of. I don't think 55% driving accuracy for Tommy Boy is accurate. 33rd at the Masters, which is all right for Tommy. I don't know. I can't remember where he drew, but he might have had the bad draw. But he hung in there tough. He had a 10th place finish here last year, so that's always good. I don't think Thigala's a fit. He was impressive at the Masters. But he's a guy on a come up. So it is going to be some narrowing decision making, and I'll come back with you tomorrow at the specialist show and tell you how I land on these, because there's a half a dozen or more guys in the 9K range, and but I think I'm there. The 10K range I'm locked. It's Cantlay and Kawa, and then it's just I'm good to go now. I think, but I'm already in on Hovland and Young. So I'm going to have to decide on maybe one or two guys in this lower 9K, maybe just one guy in this 9K or a JT. Then I'm going to have to get into what do we do with Sam Burns? He's really starting to play a lot better. And then it's going to start becoming an ownership game. So I mean, I might look at Sam Burns over Sungjae M because Sam Burns is playing some good golf. M had a 16th at the Masters. That's going to be that's a pivot spot right there. So I can see a pivot. I wouldn't pivot to Kim, but I would to Burns because Burns has win equity. Burns has skills. Burns can score. Burns can putt. All those good things. So, and he's long off the tee, so he can club down and be more accurate. So I dig that about him. Now, down a little bit further, you see Shane Lowry. He's such a good Pete Dye specialist. He's got a really strong record here. So he's a possibility down here. And this is the other smaller range. So you get down in between, start at Fitzy at 8,400 and then get down into Tommy Fleetwood. Those four guys, I'll probably have one of, and it's either going to be maybe Fleetwood or Hatton. We'll see where we land on that. Corey Connors is another guy you're going to have to make a decision on. Bounce Back City for Corey Connors. I thought, well, he's just, but this is one of those courses where Corey can drive, hit fairways and greens all day. He's actually got a decent putting stroke at this course. He's gained strokes putting here in the past. So I think bouncing off the Masters, I think he can bounce back with another top 15 and be a scoreable guy. He's good on par fours. Russell Henley was one of my Masters guys. That fourth place finish helped me out a lot. And he is extremely accurate off the tee, and he is good with the wedges. The putter can come and go at times, but at least Bermuda is his better surface, and this is his area. He's a Georgia boy, so SEC. So I dig him here. He doesn't have all the best course history. Speaking of that, this is a better course history look over here on the golf betting system. So we're going to jump just real quick and get into some course history. And you can see Cantlay's history and just flipping through real quick. Not many people in this range have great, because these people don't play. But Cam Young, obviously the third place finish last year, people are going to parlay that. So, and I feel good about that too. But like Xander, he doesn't have great course history here. I think that can translate, even though he hasn't played it in a couple of years. JT's got an 8th, but 35th. It depends. That putter of his, who knows. But Sung Jae's got back-to-back good finishes, but he's not stellar, and he doesn't win all the time. He hasn't had all that many top 10s this year. He's got the couple sixth and fourth, but he's normally a guy that's more consistent. So he's a guy that you might be able to take a shot on Sam Burns with. And obviously Sam Burns, he's changed a lot over the last couple of years too. So it depends what your druthers are here, and play who you like too. Obviously, don't let ownership dictate you too much. Shane Lowry, I think I'm going to run him back. I was really high on him in the Masters, but he just really struggled being in that PM afternoon wave. If he would have been in the AM wave, I think that 16th place finish would have been a top 10 easily, because he dipped. He hung in there pretty tough when it was rough. So I like that. And there is some weather coming in, so we just don't know what it's going to be yet. Tommy Fleetwood with the 10th I just mentioned. And then we get down in here and see Corey Connors, 3 straight good finishes. And Henley, too many missed cuts. Henley is pretty unpredictable, so I may shy away from Henley this week. I don't need to reward him for coming through for me last week. So, just forcing him in again is not really something that I have to do. Justin Rose is going to be an interesting guy. He's had the 114th place finish in 2020, but he doesn't play here. So I don't know. He's had a quite the good resurgence this year though. So obviously Matt Kuchar, we haven't gotten to his ownership yet, but Cooch is going to have to be the highest on. 13%, that's bunk. That's going to be pushing 20 by tomorrow afternoon. So get into that. I'm not playing Ricky Fowler. Siwoo is a Pete Dye specialist. But his I don't know, his course history here is not all that. Chris Kirk has got some good course history. And these guys down in this low 7K range are going to all be interesting. And these are all guys that I wrote down. I wrote down Kirk. I'm playing Webb. I'm giving Webb a shot. He parted with the caddy, like we said. But if he's going to be down in the 5% range, I feel like he's playing a little bit better. He had that seventh place finish at the Valspar. So I feel like maybe he might be playing better. He's had a lot of time off to work on that game and gear up for this golf tournament. So I'll give him a shot at, especially if he's going to be 5 or 6% owned. Hadwin's another one I'll give a shot at 5 or 6% because he's a great ball striker and he likes these little short courses. He's a short knocker, but very accurate. So I'm digging that. Um, Down here, Matt Wallace is another interesting one. His resurgence, he's got decent history here. We'll go over here and see what his prolonged stuff is. Matt Wallace down here. Well, in the 18th place, so not really he hadn't played it a lot, but he's playing the best golf of his career right now. He finally got the PGA win. He actually made 28th place at Valero. So, his ball striking has been really, really good. He might be in play at 3%. Harmon, who's got good course history, but just not playing that well, but he's got to be dirt poor owned here. Sub 3%. Might be an interesting pivot, worth a guy. He was awful at the Masters, which we knew. I knew he had no shot at the Masters, but how are you not going to play in the Masters, right? But down here you got Seamus. Actually, I'm starting to pivot off of Seamus a little bit, but I do dig a bit. I might have to do some deeper diving into Denny. Denny's kind of still been pretty consistent. Just wasn't. He was pretty good at match play, but he just kind of fell apart after the first day. Mad McNeely's playing awful. I'm out on him. I'm still probably going to think about running Sepp Straka. This is the other small range. Got Sepp, Ben Martin, Cam Davis, but the GOAT, Seabez. That's a little range that I'm going to have to make some decisions on because all those guys are good in the low ownership categories. And all those guys are, the shortest, with the exception of Cam Davis, obviously. But these guys are sub 290 off the tee. Straka's not super long, but he has, like him and Kirk, like I predicted, which he didn't really hold on. The 46th place finish, but 6,300. What do you want, right? Excuse me, running on fumes here. But getting down, we're going to finish up here. Svensson is somebody I'm definitely going to have interest in. Sub 3%, great ball striker. The putter's getting better. He had 26th place finish last year, so he saw the course. Griot, not so much. I don't like that putter. Justin hasn't seen the course either, but he would be an interesting guy because he's a good ball striker and good around the greens, and that's a good price on him too. That's just an elevated field event. Sam Stevens, go ahead and beat me. You can see he should be 1.27%, but everybody's slurgling the Sam Stevens D at the current moment with the back-to-back top fives. But this is an elevated field event, so you're not going to get your Corrales Punta Canas and your Valero Texas Open caliber players here. So I don't mind playing him. I mean, he's solid, but I'm not going to. Jaeger bombs, and then you get down in here and your Ben Griffins and your Brendan Todds and all these guys are kind of the shorter knockers, like especially Todd. He disappointed me big time at Valero. He fell off Saturday and Sunday, so I don't know about giving him another opportunity. But you get down here, JJ Spawn is another one, even though he's missed some cuts. He's straightened out his game with the diabetes and the meds, with the proper diagnosis. He's been playing 100 times better over the last 10 months or so, since last summer when he won Valero. Joel Damon's another guy accurate off the tee. He had a 12th last year. Nick Taylor playing some pretty good golf. So a lot of guys. I know I'm talking about a whole bunch of guys. It's just because I'm kind of just seeing them. But what I'll do here is say, all right, enough of that. Let's look at some guys that I actually marked earlier, and it was Hayden Buckley at 6,800. He's starting to get himself straightened out, but I don't trust the putter, so I may be out on Hayden Buckley. But the down here further below that, Michael Thompson is a guy that I like in this range because his putter rolls pretty good, and he's a short knocker, but he's accurate, and he's had a bit of a resurgence lately. So if he can get back to 8th place, 10th place, Michael Thompson of 2020, 2021 or whatever, then we're in good shape. Pat Gazire is another one to look into. But Hubbard, Homeless Hubs, one of the last guys I'll leave you guys with. Homeless Hubs is just really kind of average across the board. The putter is getting better. That's his problem a lot of times, but he's so short off the tee. But Homeless Hubs is a guy that I'm going to look into a little bit more coming down the list. And one more bomb, Ryan Moore at 6,100. The game has improved, and he's an older guy and a guy that is definitely short but accurate, but really, really good. His approach game has been nothing but good. But even though he's been getting killed off the tee all season and missing cuts, his approach game is still there. So you get to a course where you can't be long on and but accurate. And the putter, he usually lets me down with his putter, but his putter's been actually pretty decent. So Ryan Moore's a guy I'll look into. The other dude I mentioned was Luke Donald. I'm playing Luke Donald, so that approach game is there, and I believe he did show up on like that 150 or 125 to 150 bucket, very high up on the list. Luke Donald, nobody's going to play him. So, but that's going to do it for the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I rambled on a lot and talked about a lot of golfers, but hopefully I'm not giving out picks. Hopefully you just heard me say something about somebody that sparked your interest, and maybe these are just guys to narrow the player pool down. There's 140 or so guys in the player pool this week, so you got to start narrowing it down. You at least need to chop it to 50 right now. I'm down to about 30 because even as I was going through this, I saw a few guys that I'm going to have some interest in. So my 27 went to 30. So I got to cut that in half by tomorrow, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's where I'll leave it. So I appreciate you watching, and until the next video, see you soon.